Welcome to our deep dive today, all about Apple's brand new 10th generation iPad.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at a great review from those tech folks over at TechWise Corner.
Always love their takes.
Really get you that inside scoop. And for this deep dive, we're going to break down those key upgrades.
Okay.
See how it stacks up to, the rest of the iPad family.
Right.
And the competition.
The big question.
By the end, you'll know, is this the one for me?
Exactly.
Is this the tablet I should get? And especially since you're an architect,
Yes.
I think you'll be super interested in some of the design features and how they could, streamline your workflow.
Can't wait.
So first up,
Yep.
that fresh new look.
It really is fresh, huh?
Yeah.
It's like they took that sleek design from the iPad Air and Pro and kind of just poured it into this new model.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're talking those rounded edges,
Yeah.
all aluminum body, and those sharp modern edges.
So it looks like they leveled up the design
For sure.
and the color options.
Look-
Blue?
Yeah.
Pink, yellow.
Wow.
It's a far cry from your typical silver and space gray.
Yeah.
What do you think this says about Apple's target audience with this iPad?
Well, I think they're definitely trying to appeal to like a wider range of users.
Okay.
Maybe younger demographics, people who want a device that, expresses their personality a bit more.
Yeah, like you want to show off a little bit with that color.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But speaking of,
Yeah.
design changes, one that caught my eye and maybe generated some buzz was they moved the Touch ID sensor
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
from the front to the side power button.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
That's a good one.
Some people love that cleaner look
Yeah.
without the home button, but others are wondering, is it really better?
Yeah. Is it functional?
Yeah.
Is it an improvement?
What's the verdict?
I think it's a trade-off.
Okay.
Moving it to the side button does make it look sleeker,
Right.
like more modern, which goes with that whole aesthetic of the Air and the Pro.
So it's a subtle change, but I think it contributes to that premium feel.
Yeah.
But on the other hand,
Yeah.
for users that are used to, that classic home button Touch ID, it might take some getting used to.
Right.
Muscle memory is powerful.
That's so true.
No.
All right, well, moving on from fingerprint sensors
Right.
to something I think we all care about.
Yeah. The display.
Everyone wants a good display.
This new iPad boasts a 10.9-inch Liquid Retina display,
Nice.
up from the 10.2 inches.
Okay.
But what does Liquid Retina even mean?
Yeah, break it down for us.
Yeah.
Essentially, it means you're getting a really sharp and vibrant display.
Uh-huh.
Think of it like this. You mentioned you work with detailed architectural drawings.
Yeah.
So on this display, every line, every detail is going to be crystal clear.
Oh, wow.
The colors are going to be incredibly accurate and rich,
Okay.
and that's going to make presentations even more engaging.
So win for visual clarity and color accuracy.
Yeah. But I did notice in the review they said that the display isn't laminated.
Right.
Is that something to be concerned about?
It can be,
Okay.
depending on how you use your iPad.
Right.
Laminated means there's no gap between the glass and the LCD panel,
Mm-hmm.
which reduces reflections.
Yeah.
So this one doesn't have it.
Okay.
So you might find it a bit more reflective if you're working outdoors or in a brightly lit room.
So something to consider if you're going to be in those environments.
Definitely.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now let's dive into the brains of this operation.
All right, let's get technical.
The A14 Bionic chip.
Oh.
Same one that powered the iPhone 12 series.
Yep.
For those who aren't, tech savvy,
Right.
what does that mean in real-world performance?
Yeah. Does it actually make a difference?
Will it keep up with your workflow?
That's the question.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The A14 is still a powerhouse.
Okay, good.
Imagine this. You're working on a presentation. You've got 20 browser tabs open. You're editing photos in Lightroom. And maybe even doing some light video editing in iMovie.
Wow.
The A14 can handle it.
Okay, so it's no slouch
Not at all.
when it comes to multitasking
Oh.
and, handling demanding tasks.
Definitely not.
But how does this A14 compare to the M1 and M2 chips that are found in the iPad Air and Pro?
Right.
What are we sacrificing by going with this model?
That's a great question, and it's important to understand the differences.
Okay.
The M1 and M2 are in a different league.
Okay.
They offer a significant performance leap for professionals who are really pushing their iPads to the limit.
Okay.
So we're talking things like high-resolution video editing,
Mm-hmm.
3D modeling, professional-grade music production.
Yeah, those power users.
Exactly.
Okay.
But for everyday tasks,
Yeah,
including what you mentioned in your workflow,
right.
the A14 and the 10th gen will be more than enough.
So unless I'm rendering complex 3D models of buildings,
Right.
I'm probably good with the A14.
You're good.
Okay, now let's talk cameras. I know you're not using your iPad to do like professional photo shoots, but
Yeah.
Apple did make some interesting changes to the cameras on this model.
Okay, let's hear.
The front-facing camera is now a 12 MP ultra-wide lens,
Nice.
and they've cleverly moved it to the landscape edge of the iPad.
Interesting.
I thought that was a smart move,
Yeah.
especially for someone like you who relies on video calls for client meetings.
All the time.
By placing it there, you're looking directly at the screen,
Right.
making eye contact with your clients.
Much better.
More natural, more professional experience.
Absolutely. And that ultra-wide lens, you can fit your whole team in the frame.
Or those group calls.
Exactly.
Way better than those awkward off-to-the-side camera angles.
For sure.
Rear-facing camera is also 12 MP.
Okay.
Realistically, though,
Yeah.
do you think people are going to ditch their phones and start using this iPad as their primary camera?
Probably not.
Yeah.
While it's decent for a tablet, it's still not going to match the quality and versatility of a modern smartphone.
Yeah. You're missing out on things like optical zoom,
For sure.
dedicated night mode,
Yeah.
all those computational photography tricks that phones do so well these days.
They're so good at that.
Right.
It's hard to beat.
So the phone stays in your pocket
In my pocket.
for those important shots.
Yes.
Okay, now for something that's been causing a bit of a stir,
Ah.
the Apple Pencil situation.
Okay.
This new iPad uses USB-C for charging,
Which is great.
which is great,
Makes sense.
but it only works with the first generation Apple Pencil,
Okay.
which still uses a Lightning connector.
Interesting choice.
I know.
A little perplexing.
Especially as Apple is moving towards USB-C as like the standard.
Yeah, I think the reason is probably cost.
Okay.
The second-gen pencil is more expensive,
Mm-hmm.
and including support for it would have driven up the price.
Okay, so it's a little bit of a compromise.
Yeah.
What does this mean for users that want to use the Apple Pencil with this iPad?
Well, you'll need an adapter to charge the first-gen pencil with this iPad,
Oh, okay.
which isn't the most elegant solution.
Right.
But you'll love how precise and responsive that Apple Pencil is when you're marking up, blueprints or sketching design concepts on this iPad.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still a fantastic tool for your line of work.
Okay, so there are some quirks to work around.
A few quirks.
Now let's talk about price and value.
All right, let's get down to it.
This iPad seems to be aiming for that sweet spot,
Yeah.
more affordable than the Air, but with more modern features than the 9th gen.
It's right in between.
Yeah.
It's definitely competitively priced sitting between those two models.
So if you're looking for a modern iPad experience without breaking the bank,
This is a contender.
this is a strong contender.
But it's also worth considering those tempting Android tablets out there.
Right.
They offer similar specs, often at a lower price point.
Yeah, those Android options can be very appealing.
Very appealing.
It's a tough decision.
It is.
But we've only just scratched the surface.
We have a lot more to talk about.
When we come back, we'll dive deeper into the software,
Okay.
the battery life, and who this iPad is really for.
Stay tuned.
Stay with us.
Welcome back to your personalized iPad deep dive.
All right, so we've covered the hardware, the design, the cameras.
The essentials.
But now it's time to talk about the software
Yeah.
that powers this iPad, iPadOS 16.
The heart of the machine.
TechWise Corner had a lot to say about the new features, especially Stage Manager.
Yeah, Stage Manager.
What is so special about that?
It's a game changer for multitasking on the iPad.
Okay.
It lets you have overlapping windows of different sizes,
Uh-huh.
almost like you would on a laptop.
Okay.
So imagine you're working on a project. You can have your architectural drawings open in one window,
Right.
your project notes in another,
Mm-hmm.
a web browser for research in a third window,
Whoa.
all neatly organized on your screen.
That sounds like a dream for anyone who juggles multiple tasks, especially, like you said, for me, who needs to reference drawings, notes, research.
Yeah, all at the same time.
All at the same time.
Exactly.
But the review did mention a limitation with Stage Manager on this particular iPad.
Right. So on the 10th generation, iPad Stage Manager is limited to using a single external display.
Okay.
The more powerful M1 and M2 iPads can support multiple external displays, creating an even more expansive workspace.
So for someone that wants to connect their iPad to like a larger monitor
Yeah.
for presentations or detailed design work, that single external display limitation
Yep,
is something to consider.
it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what about the iPad screen itself?
Yeah.
Can you still have multiple windows open on the iPad even if you have that external display connected?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can still have multiple windows open and organized on the iPad's display, even with an external display connected.
Okay, so the multitasking power
It's still there.
is still there even with that limitation.
Yes.
What else is there to love about iPadOS 16 on this new iPad?
Aside from Stage Manager, Apple has really focused on optimizing the operating system for the A14 chip.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll find that everything feels really smooth and responsive.
Okay.
Apps launch quickly scrolling is buttery smooth. Multitasking feels effortless.
So it's really snappy.
Very snappy.
Yeah, okay.
You also have improvements to core apps like Mail and Safari,
Okay.
making them even more powerful and user-friendly.
Makes sense.
And, of course, you have access to that massive App Store ecosystem,
Right.
which is a huge advantage over other tablet operating systems.
Mm.
You'll find an app for just about anything you can imagine, from professional design tools to creative apps to productivity powerhouses.
And speaking of apps, I know you're a big fan of Procreate
Oh, huge
for
fan.
sketching and digital art.
Love it.
Does iPadOS 16 bring anything new to the table for creative apps like that?
It does. One of the coolest new features is called reference mode.
Okay.
It basically turns your iPad display into a color-accurate reference monitor, which is so helpful for artists and designers who need to make sure their colors are spot on.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
So it sounds like iPadOS 16.
It's packed.
It's packed with updates that make
Yeah.
the iPad even more powerful and versatile,
Absolutely.
especially for creative professionals.
For sure.
But all this power is useless if the battery dies halfway through the day.
Right, true.
What's the battery life looking like on this new iPad?
Well, TechWise Corner reports you can expect up to 10 hours of battery life on a single charge,
Okay.
which is pretty standard for iPads.
Mm-hmm.
Should be more than enough to get through a full day of work meetings or even a transatlantic flight
Oh,
with some movies to spare.
perfect for catching up on those architecture documentaries.
Exactly.
Speaking of convenience, this iPad charges via USB-C, right?
That's right.
So you can use the same charger you use for your phone,
Yeah.
laptop even?
Mm-hmm. It's super handy.
No need to carry around a separate charger just for your iPad.
Nope. One less thing to worry about.
Always a plus.
For sure.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
From the redesigned look to the powerful A14 chip to these multitasking capabilities of iPadOS 16.
A lot to love.
This seems to be a pretty solid package.
It is?
But who is it really for?
Yeah.
Who should be rushing out to buy one right now?
I think this iPad is a great choice for a few different types of users.
Okay.
Students are going to love its portability, affordability,
Mm-hmm.
and the power to handle note-taking research and even some light creative work.
Okay.
Families will love it for sharing,
Mm-hmm.
watching movies, playing games, and staying connected.
Makes sense.
And of course, it's great for professionals like you
Right.
who need a portable, versatile device for presentations, client meetings, emails, note-taking,
Mm-hmm.
even some creative tasks.
So it's hitting that sweet spot
Yep.
of versatility
Versatility.
to a wide range of use.
A lot of people.
Now, I know we touched on those tempting Android competitors earlier,
We did.
but let's dive a little deeper. What are some of the standout Android tablets
Right.
that might give this iPad a run for its money?
Samsung makes some really nice Android tablets.
Okay.
They often have amazing displays, powerful processors,
Mm-hmm.
and they're usually a bit cheaper than the iPad.
Okay.
So from a hardware perspective, they can be very attractive.
Yeah, those Samsung tablets always have those like beautiful screens.
They really do.
But what about the software?
Right.
Is there anything that sets the iPad apart from those Android competitors?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The iPad's biggest strength is its tight integration with the Apple ecosystem.
Right.
You mentioned you use an iPhone and a MacBook.
Yeah.
With this iPad, you'll get that seamless experience across all your devices.
Okay.
iCloud syncing keeps your files, photos, notes updated everywhere.
Makes sense.
AirDrop makes it super easy to share files between your devices.
Mm-hmm.
And the overall user experience is just incredibly smooth and intuitive.
So even though those Android tablets might have those attractive specs or a slightly lower price tag,
Yeah.
that seamless integration with the Apple
It's
ecosystem
a huge selling point.
is a huge selling point for the iPad.
It is,
Yeah.
especially if you're already invested in that ecosystem.
Right.
And don't forget about the older iPad models.
Right.
The 9th generation is still a really good option.
Mm-hmm.
And it's even cheaper now.
That's a great point. So many iPads to choose from.
There are a lot.
It's really about finding the one that fits your needs and budget
Exactly.
perfectly.
Find the right fit.
But we're not done yet.
Oh, there's more.
We got to zoom out.
Okay.
Look at the big picture.
The big picture.
What do all these choices that Apple made with this iPad tell us about their strategy? Where's the iPad line heading next?
Ooh, good questions.
Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive,
Yes,
where we'll tackle those big questions. We've gone deep on the 10th generation iPad.
we really have.
But now, I think it's time to zoom out and look at the big picture.
I like it.
What do you make of all these choices that Apple made with this iPad?
Yeah.
What's their strategy here?
Well, what I find fascinating is how Apple is carefully positioning its whole iPad lineup.
Oh, okay.
This 10th gen model isn't just like a minor spec bump.
Right.
It's a strategic move
Yeah.
to really dominate that mid-range tablet market.
So they're not just going after those high-end users who need the power of, like, the Pro models.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. They're recognizing that not everyone needs or can afford the absolute top-of-the-line specs,
Mm-hmm.
but they still want to offer a compelling modern experience that keeps users, in that Apple ecosystem.
It makes sense. Get them hooked on a great, affordable iPad, and then down the line, maybe they'll upgrade to an Air or a Pro.
Exactly. It's a smart long-term strategy.
Yeah.
And this kind of leads us to a really interesting question.
Okay.
Where is the iPad line heading next?
Ooh, I love these crystal ball moments.
Yeah.
What do you see in the future for the iPad?
If we look at the trends,
Yeah.
I think Apple's going to continue to kind of blur the lines between tablet and laptop.
Oh.
We're already seeing that with iPadOS features like Stage Manager,
Mm-hmm.
bringing that more desktop-like experience to the iPad.
So you're saying that, like, one day the iPad could realistically replace the laptop for a lot of people?
I think it's definitely possible.
Wow.
The key is going to be finding that perfect balance
Yeah.
between power portability and ease of use.
Makes sense.
And, of course, battery life has to be phenomenal
Yeah.
if you're going to really ditch the power outlet.
No one wants to be chained to a wall socket.
Exactly.
All right, before we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
any final words of wisdom for our listeners who might be on the fence about this new iPad?
If you're looking for a tablet that really balances those features, design and price,
Mm-hmm.
the 10th generation iPad is worth looking into,
Yeah,
but don't just take our word for it.
right.
Go check out that full review over at TechWise Corner. The link's in the show notes.
Yes.
Really dig into those details.
Mm-hmm.
Compare the specs, and think about how an iPad would fit into your own workflow.
Such great advice. Thank you.
Do your research, compare your options.
Mm-hmm.
Choose the device that really meets your needs and your budget.
Exactly.
And hey, while you're at it, let us know in the comments what features matter most to you in a tablet.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
We love hearing from our listeners.
Yes.
That's it for this deep dive into the 10th generation iPad. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.